The product was a Shido, and Epix, a successful computer games publisher, wanted it as their lead product for Christmas. The vice president of product development at Epix was Joe Miller. Joe's first order of business was to determine if we had the people we needed to complete a Shido in time for Christmas sales. I had already targeted Mike Sandage to do the PC version, and I wanted a young programmer, Ian Gilman, from Winslow, Bainbridge Island, Washington, to do the Mac version. The Mac needed to be the lead version, then we would convert it to the PC. Joe was very concerned that our Mac programmer was up to snuff. I became acquainted with Ian when he sent me a copy of a game he had done called Line Driver. This was one of a handful of over-the-transom products I received that was worth looking at closely. Ian was 15 or 16 at the time he sent me Line Driver. I was impressed and told him I would love to use him on a project should the opportunity arise. He thought that was a great idea. Now it looked like a Shido was just the ticket. Joe wasn't convinced. Tell me more about this mystery programmer you've got in mind for the Mac version. How old is he? Where does he live? What other products has he done? I shook my head and said, I'm not sure how old he is, 16, 17. He lives on an island west of Seattle, and this will be his first product. I know this sounds crazy, but I've met him, seen his work, and I'm confident he can do the job. Wait a minute. You're trying to tell me that the programmer for the Mac version, the lead version, is a kid who lives on an island and has never done a product before? I don't think so. I do think so, I replied. This back and forth went on for a few more minutes, then Joe said, I know your background, and I'm sure you're a good judge of talent, but this is a critical program for us. At the very least, we're going to have to interview him. So now I had to find a way to get Ian down to the San Francisco Bay Area from Seattle. This may seem like a simple thing, but it wasn't. The expenses would run us well over $1,000, and our cash flow was essentially non-existent. I called Ian and told him Epix was willing to consider him for the project, but they insist on evaluating your professional skills. This means we have to find a way to get you down here for the technical interview. No problem, he said. My girlfriend just won a trip to San Francisco on the radio. We're coming down on Friday. Will that work? Boy, I love it when the angels are on my side. Ian's interview went great, and Joe okayed him for the project. That night, my wife and I took Ian and his girlfriend out to dinner to celebrate. Ian was a tall, gangly, but handsome kid, a great conversationalist with a breadth of knowledge that was surprising. It was a lovely dinner, a chance for everyone to get to know each other better. Near the end of the meal, it dawned on me that Ian was just 17. I should say that fact finally sunk in. Ian, this project isn't going to interrupt your schooling, is it? I asked. Oh, I don't go to school, he responded. Did you graduate early? I was curious. No, I've gotten my GED, but it won't be official until I'm 18. Did you drop out of high school? Actually, I never went to high school. You dropped out of junior high? Well, actually, I didn't go to junior high either. When did you drop out? I got bored during the 4th grade, so I told my parents I wanted them to go to school and tell the teachers how to teach me. They asked if I thought I could do a better job by myself. I said that I could, and that was that. From then on, I've been responsible for my own education. I was amazed. You mean they trusted you to learn what you need to learn all on your own? Basically, there was one commitment I had to make. I motioned for him to continue. I had to commit to spend at least one day a week at the local library. The next day, I took Ian aside and gave him a copy of the Ishido design scenario. We spent a couple of minutes discussing the game and how it should play, and then I said, now listen to me carefully. I don't want you to begin programming until I have received a commitment from Epix. Commitment means money. So until I have the initial payment, I don't want you to do anything, understand? Sure, but I might like to play around with it a little. I'd like to get a feeling for how difficult it's going to be, Ian answered. I was afraid of this, so I took another tack. Look, understand this. If they cancel the project, I won't be able to pay you a penny. Got it? Oh, don't worry. That makes sense to me, Ian assured me. A week later, I was in Joe Miller's office, and he was saying, "You know how long it takes to complete a contract?" This was rhetorical, but I nodded my head anyway. He continued, "We've agreed on all the major points. We're going to do the contract. I want a Shido in time for Christmas. What if I give you enough to get started, say $20,000? Would that get you started right away? You hand me a check for $20,000 and I begin immediately. Do it soon, and I'll promise you a product in time for Christmas." He picked up the envelope off the top of his desk and handed it to me, saying, "Get to work, and I want to see a first playable in 30 days. 30 days, I replied. I've got a 17-year-old kid that's never done a product before, and you expect first playable in 30 days, I added, with a smile. Joe looked up at me and said, "Get the hell out of here." I called Ian as soon as I got home. I've got good news and bad news. The good news is we can start the project. I got the first payment. The bad news is they want to see first playable in 30 days. What's the chance of that happening? "I'm playing it already," Ian said boldly. A short conversation, a simple design scenario, and 1 week later he's already got first playable? This wasn't possible. I was concerned, to say the least. There was no need to worry. The first playable was perfect. I held on to it for a couple of weeks before giving it to Joe. Thank you.